right, well, welcome to That's a Latte Film with your host, Erica, and a special guest. On this podcast, we will talk about some of our unpopular opinions on some popular films. So grab a cup of coffee, relax, and join us. A little disclaimer though, some of the films we discuss may be explicit. We will try our best to keep it PG, but please beware before you watch the films, and there also will be spoilers. All right, well, welcome everybody. Welcome, Anna.
Yes, thank you, Erica, for having me.
Of course, I'm so excited. This is gonna be so fun.
Yes.
We made sure we each do have our own coffee. You'll never know what we're actually drinking.
You'll never know.
In the cup. You'll never know. Actually, so my sister, Rebecca, she's not on it today, but she actually got me this mug because she knows my obsession for coffee. And it's
so cute.
It's a prescription. I don't know if you can see it. Prescription coffee.
Yes.
And then it says, lift mug to mouth, sip repeatedly until awake and alert.
Hello.
As many as you need. Refills often expires when empty or too cold.
I love that. It's so cute. I was looking at it, I was like, that's a prescription.
I love it. I was like, wow, she knows me so well. But yeah, it's funny because she doesn't even drink coffee. So she's on this podcast and every time she's like, I'm just drinking water.
You gotta burst your bubble. She's like, no latte in here.
Yeah, she's like, no, not even for you. I will not drink coffee. Not even for you. I'm like, that's fine.
Good for her, because I can't live without it.
I don't know how she does it, honestly, because she's very busy. Like, she works a full-time job, even as a manager. She goes to school, and then she's always hanging out with her friends. And I'm like, how are you alive? Like, I would be like, I need caffeine. You want to go somewhere? I need coffee.
ASAP. Legit. I have like coffee and then I have a caffeinated drink and then I have more coffee. You know, like.
Yeah, I get it. That's my life. It's really bad, especially during college years.
Listen, well, I drank more Red Bull in college, but that's a different story.
Oh yeah, it was bad.
So bad. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we have to survive.
I could talk about coffee for forever. So today we're gonna talk about a newer movie. Actually, the movie is called Malcolm and Marie. It's actually a Netflix original. So many of you may have not even seen it yet because it's pretty new. So just beware. If you don't want spoilers, don't even listen to this yet. Go watch the movie. So I'm gonna give a little summary. So a filmmaker on the brink of Hollywood glory and his girlfriend, whose story made his career, find themselves pushed towards a reckoning as a single tumultuous night decides the fate of their relationship. Isn't that a really good summary of the whole movie?
That is such a summary. I mean, pretty much.
That's everything.
That's it.
Listen.
Girl.
Movie. Like, okay. So I watched it twice because I watched it the first time we talked about it. And then I watched it again today because I was like, I need to refresh my mind. And like the first time I saw it, I was like, oh wow, this is in black and white. Like I wasn't expecting that. And which I love because I love classic movies. So yeah. I was like, oh, that's different. And then like it starts out really good. Like I love the intro because it's like literally him just talking about his win and how happy he is that he got it. And he's just talking and talking and talking about it. And like, I was like, oh, this is different. But then he doesn't stop talking.
And is not reading body language because sis is not.
She's
not beat. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, and you're still talking about yourself and your win. That was based on her story.
I was blown away because as you go along, like they slowly start revealing more reasons why she's angry, you know, like they help you understand more. But like when you first watch the scene in the beginning and she's like not paying attention to him, you're like, oh dang, like he just won and she does not care. She's like, are you hungry? You want to eat something?
Right.
Like,
Right.
she's like, yes,
Smoking her
you won.
cigarette.
She's
It's
like,
like,
you know, good for you. Like, whatever, I'm gonna stand outside.
yep.
Like, oh, something's off about this couple. You know from the beginning.
Right. You just sense it. Listen, and I must be transparent. I watched it. Remember, we had spoken about it before, and I watched it. I tried to watch it again last night.
Yeah.
I couldn't. And I was like, I'm going to watch it again tomorrow. So I was going to try again today. And it's just, it was so painful for me. Like, I was like, oh my goodness. And I mean, and I loved, you know, the black and white, although I'm not like you. I don't like classic, anything black and white. Automatically, I'm like, it's time to go night night.
Okay.
I can't take it.
Yeah.
But I was like, okay, this is film. Like, it was black and white, and the acting, and there was qualities about it that I'm like, this is a good film, whatever.
Yeah.
But the storyline was just like, I'm like twitching. When I was watching it, we watched it for date night, my husband and I, and he loves those type of movies as well. He's like, oh, it's black and white, and this is, you know, Denzel's son, and this is, you know, he's looking at it from that perspective, and he's like, this is brilliant, and all of this, and I'm like twitching. I'm like, is this over? So hopefully I can remember all that. I just remember I couldn't help but like diagnosing this relationship. And if we get into it, all the codependency, like, I'm like, this is such a toxic relationship, bro. You're not reading, like we were talking about, reading her body language. Like, she doesn't want to listen to it. And you're just so consumed with thyself as a true narcissist that you're not paying attention to how she's feeling or caring for that matter.
Yes. Also, before we keep going, can you let the listeners know a little bit about what you do? Like, because I know you have your own podcast. She has the Community Well podcast, and I did share the link to it, and I told everybody, hey, listen to this. So this is the podcast that I was on, you guys, and yeah, so tell them a little bit about what you do.
Yes, of course. So I know we got like right into it.
I know, you're too excited.
I know. I'm like, let's go. So my name is Anna Ayubioja, by the way, y'all. I am a speaker and author, a mental health coach and consultant, the host of the Community Well podcast, as well as I just like calling myself a Godpreneur. I really just do things, implement, you know, ideas that God places on my heart, not to be placed in a box. I'm like, I just do whatever he tells me to do. So that's that part, but everything really around the mental health field, and really the faith and the practical, and looking at things through that lens, because I feel like there's a gap between you know, the faith and the practical. It's either you pray things off or you just do the practical and kind of worldly thing. But I think there's power when you look at things together and sort of treat people in that holistic perspective. So all I do is mental health related, but my heart's passion is talking about toxic relationships and dysfunctional families and breaking those cycles. I really believe, you know, in breaking generational curses and cycles, and really establishing, you know, generational blessings by raising up healthy marriages and healthy individuals. So my main work is with wives and moms.
Okay, I love that so much. That's why we chose this movie, because this movie, if you guys haven't seen it, I know the people who have, they're agreeing with us already. Like, yes, this movie, they're crazy. But if you haven't seen it, if you've been in a bad relationship before, I'm sure it will be very triggering, because it's like it starts, and again, like we said, he keeps talking. Like, yes, he's had a major win, so I understand that he's had a major win. Right. He's a filmmaker. As somebody who like aspires to do that, like, I get it. Like, I understand you've been working so hard to get to this point, and finally they recognize you. So like, you know, you go home with this win, and he's just celebrating, but like, it's just, it looks so one-sided the whole time, and she's just like not even really paying attention to him, and like, it's just so weird. So as soon as it starts, you're like, okay, what am I getting myself into right now? Because it looks intense.
Listen, especially when, they're going through the beginning. She's like smoking because, I did try, the first 3 minutes. So I remember that very clearly. The rest of it is I have bits and pieces because I'm like, Lord.
It's
But
a
the
blur.
beginning, it's a blur. So you may have to help me out there.
Fine, that's fine.
I got the overall, but I remember she's like, she's smoking and she's going about like this routine while he's going around the house, kind of like taking off his tie and kind of just talking about himself and all of this. And it's really his world. Like you were saying, he's talking about himself and it's just his world. And she's sort of this accessory.
Yes.
And so for people that have been in a bad relationship, because I remember I was in a toxic relationship in high school and feeling it wasn't so much like this where I was like an accessory, but it feels like you're sort of in this vacuum and this person just sucks the life and the air out of the room and you're left drained, depleted, and feeling like nothing. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
I really sense that from her. It's like this void of like, I'm nothing and you're using me and not even giving me any credit.
Right. Like, okay, so the Zendaya, because Zendaya is the one who plays Marie.
Yes.
And I think it's John David Washington. I think I got his name right. I don't even know.
Maybe.
But anyway, he's Denzel Washington's son, for those of you who don't know. He like just broke into the film, and all of a sudden he's here.
Where did he
Yeah.
come from?
Where did he come from? And he's really good. So like he plays Malcolm. But Zendaya plays her like you feel it. Like you feel the fact that she's so over it and like in everything that she does, because she doesn't really, when she speaks, both of them, when they speak, they have a monologue. Like it's not just like, back and forth or whatever. It's a whole, it's like almost like a play kind of in movie form. And they're doing that a lot lately, I've noticed. So like, especially Denzel Washington. So like to have his son be doing the same thing makes so much sense.
Absolutely. And that was kind of cool to see. But I was like, oh, my first impression of you in this movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah,
all of that.
she does so well. Like just her body language, her facial expression.
Yeah.
Like she does so good. But like I felt it because like I've had like like not like intimate relationships, but like friendships where like you have that, like you feel like that draining feeling where it's like nothing you say matters at this point.
Ooh,
or like you're just sick and tired of hearing that person's side or whatever. Like I totally got it. So I was like, oof, man. But like, so like the summary says, literally the whole movie, like what makes it so tiring is that it's literally one night and they spend the whole night arguing,
going back and forth. There were like moments where they were like, okay, perfect depiction of toxicity. They're like, okay, and kind of reminiscing, and like then they go back and forth, and it's like that definitely made it so much more draining. I'm like, yo, this is one night after already going to like a long event. Like,
yeah. Oh my gosh.
Now we're fighting.
They probably didn't get home till midnight, maybe, because it's so long. And now instead of like, I watched this podcast about it too. And like before we had even talked about it, and they were like, when it comes to arguments, like you have to know when it's the right time, and Zendaya, like Marie literally says to him, because he's like, you're mad. And she's like, not really saying it, like not really, getting into it, but he wants to know why she's mad. It's like, you're mad. Why are you mad? And he's going through like the list of things that she could potentially be mad about. She's like, no, like that's not it, whatever, but she will not say it. And then she says, you don't want to deal with this tonight. Like this is not the night. Let's wait. Let's sleep on it. Let's wait till tomorrow. And he wants to deal with it right then and there. And that's when it like blows up. I think if they probably would have just slept on it, maybe,
Right.
you know.
Listen. Maybe. I mean, that's what healthy people do. Like, healthy people are like, I can take a breath and we can say, let's table this and we can talk about it. I mean, ideally, you'd be like, literally set a date for us to talk about it so we can have clear minds. It's not from an emotional reactional place where we're like, do you want to meet at Saturday? We will, Saturday at 12, let's talk about this. Let's break it down. But as a true narcissist, he just wants to poke the bear because narcissists, and they're like vampires. It's like blood. They're like, oh, drama. I live off of this. So he needed that drama. That just strokes his ego even more to like have her flipping out like that and gaslighting her. He's just making up all these things and sort of twisting things around and really verbally abusing the life out of her. Like, there's pockets in the movie where I'm like, did he just, I keep thinking about, I can't remember all the words, I just remember the feeling. Like,
Yeah.
it's crazy. You'll never forget, I don't know who said the quote, but you'll never forget how someone made you feel. And the feeling that they evoked in that scene when she was in the bathtub and he was coming for her life.
Yes. I was getting so mad. I was like, is he gonna
so
stop?
Mad.
Let her
I was like,
back.
I would have kicked you. Like, he's sitting at the edge of the thing, and I'm like, I would have kicked you straight up.
Honestly, I would have like splashed him with some water or something. Like, get out, please.
Just dunk him real quick. Like, yo, she's trying to relax and kind of just get the argument off of her, the night off of her, and he wants to go and just instigate and just.
Yes, like the scene before that too. Like everything he does is just so strange to me. Cause like again, like you said, they'll go back and forth. So like they did whatever they could literally to hurt each other. Like whatever they could say to like get deeper and deeper into the wound, they would say it. So like before then, she had her moment, right? She like starts going at him, right? And he gets mad, right? So he's like, he goes outside and starts, making a scene outside, trying to blow off steam. And then I guess remembers something she said or like wants clarification about something she said. And he goes to the window of the bathroom and it's like, what did you mean by whatever? While she's taking a bath. I'm like, you couldn't have waited for her to get out of the bathroom? Maybe.
Listen, the window. That's what it was. You're right. It was the window. The window, sir.
Like,
and it's one of those things. It's like he's like those thoughts where I'm like, you can't even contain yourself. Like, you can't even just help it. Take a breath and go sit down. Of course, obviously, he can't because that's how he operates. But, we've been talking a lot about him. And I have to say about her that, it's that aspect where they're both and I'm going a little deeper because this wasn't really like evident. But in my opinion, there's this savior complex that they both have where there's something about her that believes that she can change him. And it's so hard for her to get out. And also she feels like, almost like indebted to him because he helped her get clean. Or stood by her and all of that. And he has that little, and says it. So that's what he does. That's what narcissists do. They're like, they'll help you through a season or help you with anything, and then they'll throw it in your face and they'll use that as manipulation for you to stay because she'll feel like, yo, I owe him my life, basically, if it wasn't for him. And he'll constantly remind you of that. And she's believing that. And so they both have those parts of them where it's like, that are not healthy, right? Because even her and having that addiction, she replaced her addiction. Was it drugs or
yes,
alcohol?
Yeah, she had a drug addiction.
Drug addiction. She replaced drugs basically with him and this relationship. You know what I mean? So it's like that thing that keeps drawing her back to him. So she's not fully healthy herself.
Right.
Which just makes that whole dynamic
Crazy. Just
right.
crazy.
A
Like,
whole cycle.
yeah. And yeah, it makes you so like you feel a lot of things during the movie. Like you get angry, but you also get like super uncomfortable. And like I love because the movie again, like it's black and white and it's they have a very like jazzy feel to the film too. So like
Yep.
I loved how they used music in the film because
Yeah.
like it was either they would use music with specific lyrics to the moment, and even he used music to communicate things to her, and then like
Mm,
she would get so mad and I was like, why do you let him, like she like allows everything that he does or like says to get her so deep. Like
yes.
he used a song, I forgot what it said, but it was basically like dealing with the situation at hand, and she immediately just starts like arguing with him again, even though the right before they're just chilling, like they had already passed whatever previous argument, and then they would relax and then something would come to mind and they would start going at it again, and I'm like, this is like a boxing match for real, like they
So,
would not chill.
real talk. A boxing match. And I was like, yo, I'm tired. I feel like I'm getting hit. I'm like, oh my God.
Like go to
And you're right. You get mad, you get like almost sad for them. You're like,
sleep. You
you can
want to
feel
have
for like
hope for them too.
yes.
Then when
Yep.
you see them starting to show affection to each other, then you're like, okay, so like, the argument's over. Like
Yeah.
I remember the part that there he finally thinks he's going to finally like have his moment with her that night, like have a celebratory moment with her.
Yep.
And he's like, okay, I have to go to the bathroom, but like I'll be right back. Like don't change your mood. Like I'll be back.
Literally.
She's like, okay, okay. He goes. Literally a minute or two later, she's crying. Like she's literally like sobbing. And he's like, he comes back. She's like, I have to ask you a question. He's like,
Like I thought we were going in a different direction. Like what?
I'm tired.
Legit, like I'm done. I thought we were done. But that's such a good point too, because it's like those mood changes that she experiences is obviously like her own stuff, but it also, I'm convinced, is because of him. It's sort of being in this space, and this is where I bring in the faith and the practical, where there's literally a spirit associated with narcissists, for narcissists, the whole Jezebel spirit, and that thing is no joke. Like in real life, in the movie we talk about it, and it's just like, but in real life, it's like you think you're literally going crazy, and one minute you're happy, one minute you're sad, one minute you're up, one minute you're down, and you think it's you, but really is a spirit associated with this person. And you're like, yo, like I deserve more than this. But then you have these thoughts and you're literally like, I deserve better than this. But no, really, do I? And you start doubting yourself because of the seeds that he has planted over time, months, years, whatever it is. So she probably feels like she's crazy, and people would look at her and be like, yo, she's nuts, these mood changes. But is that spirit associated with this dude that also has her so messed up mentally?
Mm. Yeah, and then when because I don't remember if, I mean, I'm guessing she was already addicted to drugs before she got with him.
Mm-hmm.
So like she was already probably thinking that she wasn't worth it, then too, when she got with
Exactly.
him,
Yeah.
and then when she got him, she probably felt a sense of worth and with him. But like you
Yeah.
said, like having that back and forth, like, but am I really, and then, you rely on him to give you that worth, but
Mm-hmm.
he can't because he's crazy too. Like
See what I'm
he
saying?
has his issues too, you know,
Major issue. Yes.
major. Like
Yeah.
he was too much too. Cause like I in the beginning when he's talking about his win, but also they hadn't even critiqued his movie yet. And he was already upset about the critique. that
in
was gonna
advance.
come. I was like,
Anticipating it, like,
are you
what?
okay? Yeah, like, and even she was like, but you won. Like, it's okay, you
What
know?
else do you want? Right. Yeah. Like it wasn't enough that you won.
Right. Like, why does it matter? Like, she's like, what does it matter? Because he was upset, that it could be turned into a political thing. Meanwhile, it's only just talking about, addiction and all these things and grief and whatever. That's literally what the movie's about. But he's upset that he knows it's going to be turned into a political thing.
Yeah.
So he's like, losing his mind. And she's like, well, why does it matter? Like, the way that they receive it is the way that they receive it. But if it's a positive review, then it's a positive review. Like, why does
Right.
it have to be in the way you want?
Yeah.
And I think that right there, like that setup of the movie gives you the whole like backdrop of who he is. Like,
Yeah.
the reaction had to be his way. Like, it had to be the way that he wanted it to be.
So
And if
controlling.
not, he's gonna be mad. And then later on, he gets a review from one of the ladies that he doesn't like.
Right.
And he has
Yep.
the scene is probably 5 minutes of him yelling about this review. And she's just laying there watching him. And she literally just says, when he's done, she's like, you're crazy. Like, you're crazy. Like, you were literally arguing with yourself about a positive review. They liked it.
That's it. All of that says it all. But you're so right. Like him anticipating all this, but I also feel like he's very controlling. So he does want people to like, I want to control the way you think about my film or whatever it is, but also completely wanting to deflect the fact that she now sees this film and she's like, yo, this this character is me. Like, had it not been for me, you would not have this concept, this idea, this brilliant film, had it not been for me. Like, you can't deny that. And so I feel like he is very controlling. He wants to do all that, but it's also really trying to like cover up the fact that it's about her. I mean, so I feel like a lot of the rant is all of that is like, I just don't want to talk about the fact that yes, this film was about you or inspired by you.
Yeah, like, you inspired my win. Like, you're the reason for my win, basically.
Because I don't want you to think that had it not been for you, because that would, I mean, let's say in a healthy relationship, I help you, like, he helped her get clean or whatever. But if I helped you in any which way and you helped me and we have this symbiotic relationship, whatever, that's healthy. I don't want you to have that on me because then I lose control over you.
Right. And let's talk about how the whole reason why the argument even started was because he didn't say thank you to her at his speech.
That part.
I was like, oh my goodness. Like, she finally says it. I mean, she says it in the beginning. And when you first hear it, you're like, really? Like, you get it? Like, you're like, I mean, I understand. Like, if I was with somebody and they didn't thank me, but they thanked a million other people, I'd probably be a little upset too. But she was like next level. You're like, that's weird.
That's not normal. Yeah.
Like, there has to be more. And then as the movie progresses, it's like little by little, she's revealing more and more and more. And stuff that I guess he's never even heard before. And I'm like, I don't even know her. Like, and that's the thing. Like, I was thinking while watching it too. I'm like, well, why now all of a sudden is this coming out? That means that they haven't even had these conversations before. Like, she didn't, the whole time they were filming, did they even have one conversation? She like, that just goes to show you, like, that night was the blow up. Like, it wasn't like And I guess that's why they made it so intense. Like it's the whole night because that's how long they've been holding this, you
Right.
know?
It's been festering up. Yeah, it's true. That's such a good point. It's like y'all haven't had this conversation. And this whole time that this man was doing this film, I mean, I don't know this area. You probably are more well versed in this, but how long does the film take? It's not a few weeks.
Like 2 years for a movie like that? Probably like 2 years. So you
Two
had
years.
2 years to discuss.
And you know, like you talk shop. You're like, oh, during dinner or like when you're going to bed, you're like, hey, you know, this is what we were doing today. This is what my film's about. In 2 years, you guys didn't have this conversation.
She didn't bring it up like, hey, you know, is this about me? Like, no, you waited until the night he wins an award to celebrate and all this stuff. You waited till then. Now his night, because
Right.
it is both sides. Like both sides have their, you know, things that they did wrong.
Yeah.
So it's like, man, like, you know, is he crazy? Yes, but also that was his celebration night,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, and now it's all ruined with all of this stuff that probably could have been dealt
Exactly.
with way before.
Yeah. In her defense, and well, their defense, I mean, I feel like when you're in that type of relationship, you really like, especially for her, trying to walk on eggshells
Hmm.
because you don't want to have a fight. You know what I mean?
That's true
So
too.
I
I can
can,
see that.
I yeah, I can see her walking on eggshells and not wanting to ruffle any feathers to prevent this. So she was probably like, or maybe it's just me, and sort of that whole psychological piece where she's like, it's probably me. I'm probably making this up because it's been years of manipulation and psychological abuse that she's endured. You know what I mean? It's like, I think that's the other piece we have to give them. It's like it takes time for like this to develop, even though the signs were there and there were red flags from the get. Other people can see them, but when you're in the mess, you're in the mess and it's like mud and you're like, it's like mud in your eyes and you're kind of like, I'm just gonna lightly step because this is, you know, he saved me and this is too good to be true maybe, and you know, all these things. And all of a sudden I feel the mud was cleaned off her eyes that night and she was like, this is me and you're not even gonna thank me. And then it was like probably like a flood of stuff was just like, you know, just kaboom.
That's true. That's true. Because, yeah, she probably had feelings she didn't even realize she had during that whole time, too. That just came
Probably. Listen,
and
that, that movie was too much. I was like, I couldn't breathe. And everybody was like, I love it. And this is so great. And I was like, I hate it.
it's a lot. I don't think I
It
could ever
is.
watch it again. Like,
I
that's enough.
can't. You watched it twice, so I give you credit, girl. Because I was literally last night, I told my husband, I was like, okay, I'm gonna do this. I popped some popcorn. I was like, I'm gonna take some notes because I really want to like be detailed in my podcast with Erica. And I was like, I can't.
I understand though. Like, I'm not gonna say the movie specifically because it hasn't come. I haven't done it yet. It's coming out
Yeah.
soon. But there was one movie that we reviewed, and that movie was 2 hours, more than 2 hours long. It's like almost 3 hours. I had to watch it twice,
Oh Jesus.
and I was like, I was dying. The second time, I was like, how much longer is this
Like
movie?
painful. Listen. Oh, I'm telling you, 3 minutes. I was like this. And I was like, okay, I can fast forward. And I was like, to the mac and cheese part. I was like, I just can't.
That
You eating
part.
mac and cheese and cussing her out, basically.
And the way he was eating the mac and cheese. Can we talk about that? So disgusting.
And she still made a mac and cheese. Can we talk about that part too?
Right? He was like, "Oh, here's the mac and cheese. This is what I want for dinner." I was like,
Bruh, listen, it's the codependency and lack of boundaries for me. I'm like, sis, people think because they're in relationships or they're married, you can't have boundaries. No, sir, you speak to me in that manner, I'm walking away until you can get it together.
"Right."
And I'm not making you mac and cheese.
I was like, "You can't. This is your first of all, you mean to tell me you haven't eaten already? I'm sure there was food at this party." So you ate. Second of all, if you're hungry, there's no Uber Eats for you to get food. Like you couldn't just be like, I'll order. It's on me. You know, are you hungry?
Right. Let's celebrate. I'll order something so we could celebrate. And I mean, that's a whole thing too. Like if you're in a healthy relationship and you're like, I believe in advance that you're gonna win. I will prepare, like we're gonna get champagne. There's a whole even preconceived even before this night because you didn't prepare. Right. There was no champagne and there was no nice fancy dinner waiting. This mac and cheese, bro.
He took out that box mac and cheese. I was like, no way. I was like, if I won an award, we're not eating mac and cheese.
Listen.
I don't care.
It's not happening. I mean, but you talk to me like that, I'm not making you nothing anyways.
That's true too. That's true. I'd be like, you can make your own mac and cheese. I'm going to bed.
That's it. I was like, yeah, I'm going night-night. I'm going to take my bath and you're not coming through my window and I'm going to bed.
Right. Okay? Leave me alone. Good night.
Yeah. Listen.
It was crazy.
I wonder why people liked it.
You know, it's surprisingly, I haven't even really heard that much about the movie. Like, so like, I don't know. I've seen a couple of videos on YouTube about it, but they had the same review where it was just like, this was a lot for me. Like, and it was like married couples that were talking about it. So they're like, if we ever they're like, I don't ever want to get to that point. If I ever, start taking advantage of you, I'm sorry. Like,
listen, one of my friends was like, I apologize in advance for everything I've done. He was telling his wife, like, just apologizing profusely. He's like, have I ever done that? Like, he was just so like traumatized. It was like,
because they're
never.
So bad. He's so bad.
Yeah.
And I think she was a model too.
Oh, was she?
That's what they were trying to get at, like that she's a model. Like he takes a jab at her at some point and says something about how she's not in the film industry, and she's like, yeah, like I know, but also like she's there, like she knows people. So I'm like, and I think they had mentioned something that she was a model or something, and like, it has to do with photos or whatever. But I was like, I think she also was trying to get into the field. And like he didn't even, like the part that she's like, why didn't you cast me?
You're right. Yes.
And I was like, if you know,
I wasn't even worthy enough to play myself in your film.
I was like, she is literally the person. Like she's literally the one.
Who else would play her best than her?
Like what? So I was like, no, this is not, I would not be able to handle that kind of relationship. Props to her.
Can you imagine?
And then they stay together at the end, I think.
I was just going to say that. And they stay together. So you guys are going to continue to do this dance of like, I hate you, I love you. Like, that's a tiring dance.
It's probably every day.
Yeah, sis, you deserve better.
Yes.
Walk away.
Yeah.
Let him get another supply. Another narcissist supply.
The relationship has taken its course.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like when at the end she finally like gets to tell him, and more specifically like why she's mad. Like, yes, in the beginning she says, you didn't thank me, but then at the end it was just like, it's not even about the fact that you didn't thank me. It's just like, when I told you that you didn't thank me, you still didn't thank me. Like you didn't even try and make up for it. Like, oh, well, thank you. Like, no, what he said was, already, like, that I appreciate you or whatever. And she's like, that's not the point. Like the point is say it. Like, I want you to say it. So like, and then finally he says it. He says, I forget how he says it, but like he just says one simple little thing and they're back to normal. I was like,
Girl.
absolutely not. After that whole night, no.
See what I'm saying? I'm not just gonna take this one simple sentence because the whole night you've been gaslighting me and manipulating and beating me verbally, because literally the things that he was saying, I was like, what? I mean, she was saying some crazy stuff too, just to get back at him. But I'm like, for you just to accept that he knows that he can say whatever he wants to you, and then say that one thing that's going to be like, okay, it's fine. And what he then is going to do is come with the flowers and the over the top affection where you're like, you're sucked back in and you're like, oh, he loves me. He does love me. He just made a mistake. And then we continue the cycle again.
Yep. When you know that's the story of Malcolm and Marie. You know.
Story of Malcolm and Marie. That's it.
Story.
Listen.
After I finished watching it, I was like, wow, that teaches me the kind of relationship I do not want to be in. I was like, I'm set. I know.
Right. All set. Red flags, like, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, girl. That movie was never again. I would never. I mean, it was brilliant again. The fact that they had this, they had to deal with the pandemic. So it was just the two of them and just filming this one night for the entire film. I thought that was brilliant. I was like,
yeah,
I give you all.
I think the movie itself, like if we're talking about like the actual movie, was it good or bad? Right. I think it was good. Like, yeah, because it made me feel a bunch of emotions. And the writing was amazing. The acting was great, so like that side of things, amazing. Production wise, amazing. But like story, and if you're not trying to like be angry while watching a movie or be triggered or whatever,
that part,
don't watch it. Just
that part.
It's not worth it. It's not that.
It really isn't. Yeah, it really is not worth it unless you have a therapy session scheduled like immediately after.
Yeah, like unless you're in a good place right now, and if you're okay now and you can think back and be okay with stuff, okay. But if you still cannot, don't do it.
Don't do it.
Don't do it.
It's not worth it. We're telling you right now, don't do it.
Yeah.
So not worth it.
Oh, not at all. But great movie. Good job, Netflix. Good job.
Yes. Love me some Netflix.
Well, thank you so much, Anna, for joining me to discuss some unpopular opinions. Some people might be very angry at us, but we don't care because that's our opinion. And
hello, and that's it. Thank you for having me on. I had so much fun talking about it.
Oh my gosh, me too. So guys, if you want to continue to hear from Anna, you guys can follow her podcast, The Community Well. I know that it is on Spotify and it's on YouTube. Are there any other platforms?
It's on Apple. I think it's on all major. How many major platforms? All of them.
Okay, yeah.
You can find them. Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah, so you guys can listen to her. She does talk about a lot of things more related to mental health, right? More specifically focus on that. So, which I think is a great topic for anybody who is interested in that. I think it's great. Everybody should know more about it. So
thank you, Erica. I appreciate you.
Bye.
Bye.
So, here we go. Oh, that's really Will you snap out of it and get me some more coffee? Ladies and gentlemen, ladies.